This array standing wheelchair was developed at IIT Madras, and the specific place where it was developed is the Rehabilitation Research and Device Development Lab of IIT Madras, which is in the Mechanical Engineering section. So it was primarily headed by Professor Sujata, Vivek, and Swastik. So the development work was overseen by them, and now Phoenix is taking care of manufacturing, marketing, and sales of others. So we have a clinical team at RTD2. So it consists of myself, um, Mr. Karthik, Mr. Tribhuvan, and Amrita. I will take a few minutes to introduce all of them. So Karthik is a physiotherapist with a good experience in especially pediatrics. He's based out of Chennai. He has two clinics in Chennai. Tribhuvan is an occupational therapist who had joined us a few months back, and he's been working extensively with the creating the content for dissemination of RIs. And Amrita is a physiotherapist who has also been with us for quite some time now, and she's also been involved in a lot of coordination and creating content for RIs dissemination. And I'm Samson. I'm an occupational therapist. I have 7 years of experience from CMC Vellore at the Rehabilitation Institute there, and I've been with IIT Madras for almost 2.5 years now. Today's discussion is, or today's training is going to be about uh, what are the different steps involved in fitting a raised standing wheelchair to a user who wants to use it. So when Arise was launched, there have been a lot of activity happening around because it was very popular in the media, and a lot of people had reached out to us. And we had found that many people don't know who the primary need for the wheelchair and who it is meant for, who are supposed to use it and who is not supposed to be using this. And even that basic information was not present to people, and that has to do a lot with awareness and availability of such kind of a device before. Since we have it now, we took the first step of creating a video to promote awareness to the community users as well as the professional community, so that one level of doubt clarification happens after seeing the video and people become aware about what it does and who it is meant for and the different steps involved in it. Shortly, I'll be pasting a link where which leads to a page of RTD2 IIT Madras, and there we'll find all the information which are necessary for this dissemination process. So it has the awareness videos, it has different forms: assessment form, measurement form, checkout form, and fitment form, and it has some few pending documents will also be uploaded over there, like the training manual for your race, and all the information will be stored at one place, and I'll post the web link for you shortly in the chat box, and we'll be using that as a reference during this presentation. First, we'll look at the rehabilitation landscape in India. The when we look at the landscape, the primary thing which people lack is the sheer number of professional services available to them. So the devices can be many, or the need can be many, but there is, I will surely say that there is a very strong need for services like even basic rehabilitation. If I can make a list, I can pick only a quite handful of uh, organizations or institutions which offer a good holistic rehabilitation to the persons in need. And when this is there, and this is also not very regulated, and it's not standard across the country as well. So people end up doing all kinds of stuff on their own on advice of the caregivers or family members, or they go to alternative treatment mechanisms, and as a result they end up using a wrong device or using a wrong technique or using a wrong mode of treatment, and as a consequence of that there'll be a lot of harmful effects to the health. And uh, this array standing wheelchair, being a very sophisticated device, it's not as simple as using a cane or a regular wheelchair. used for mobility. It's kind of sophisticated. It has a lot of moving parts and it has a lot of fine tuning built into it so as to meet the customized needs of each and every person who is going to be using it. So if this was given into the market just like a regular wheelchair, people will start using it without all the pre-processing or preparation needed for the device, and as a result the device will not be used to the maximum potential, and sometimes harm might come to the user of the device, that is understanding nature. So principle is to provide promote more good than harm. So in fact, there should not be any harm done to the user, and there should be more good to the user by the process as well as the device. So we didn't want to separate the process and the device. So the device has to be uh, given to a person only after prescription is given. When I say a prescription is given, that means a user was evaluated by a professional and the needs was discussed and they are aware about what's going to happen to them, and the decision making was taken in conjunct with the user. So it has to be user centered device. Simply a person can't write a prescription and give it to user. So all that learning has been taken from the existing wheelchair services in India. So if somebody wants to buy a wheelchair, they just go to a shop and pick one of these wheelchairs which we see on the screen. So that may not work well here because, as I said earlier, this kind of wheelchair service or the wheelchair clinic is not very standardized here in India. If at all it is present, it's very present. It's present in very less numbers. So, and this array standing wheelchair is very different from all these regular wheelchairs. Even a regular functional wheelchair or the passive wheelchair can require some amount of prescription to fit the person properly and to meet the needs and not to provide any harm. Understanding wheelchair needs even more detailed attention to the user and building the wheelchair adjustments over the around the user. So it has to be the case where the wheelchair has to be adjusted according to the user and the needs, and not the user has to adjust according to the wheelchair, whatever is given to them. So the prescription becomes a very important part of this process. And this being very new to the market, we'll have to ensure that this works well, so at least for the initial few set of people. And we'll have to be very rigorous in our follow-up. That's when we will have a lot of learning. So that's why I think setting up the channel is very important, and all the people who are present in this webinar are potential partners for being present in this channel, and we have a very important task at hand to ensure that people get the best of our services. So I think with this introduction we can I set the context for the need for such an process, which we need such a process of doing an assessment, doing a proper measurement, doing the fitting, doing a checkout after the fitting, and then doing refitting, giving training, and all that should be uh, kind of present or documented in a proper prescription form. So what I'll do now is I'll give you the link where the documents are present, and the members of this webinar can have a look, and then we'll go into the next section. We have the link for the website of RTD2 IT Madras, and it leads to the resources page of the website. So I'll just explain the documents present. So the first part of the web page, there is a video awareness video for the standing wheelchair, which is primarily to educate the users. It can be informative to a professional also. Uh, it has the following questions answered. It tells about the features of the standing wheelchair and who this wheelchair is suitable for, and what is the procedure which is required to get this. There's an assessment and there's a prescription process behind it, and how do you fit, how can a user determine or how can a professional determine whether this whether the person was fit properly in the wheelchair or not, and what is supposed to be done for that, and how the array standing wheelchair can be customized for the user. So it contains some details about doing a measurement and then making adjustments in the wheelchair, and the different safety features of the wheelchair designed to protect the person from any harmful falls or some training mishaps, um, and how this wheelchair has been uh, fitted for the user. And below the set of questions, so we have four forms. One is, the first is the assessment form, and then we have a measurement form, and then we have a prescription form, and then we have a checkout form. So the professional can do an assessment and then they can do a measurement. Based on those two details, a prescription will be generated. The person who has done the assessment can verify that and then give a go or a no go. The prescription will contain details like what should the backrest height be, or what should the seat width be, what should the seat depth be, and so on and so forth. The 11 adjustments, it will contain dimensions for the 11 adjustments based on the input data from the user and their preference as well. So it's not only the judgment of the professional, but it's a preference of the user as well. So from these three streams of data, so we'll create a prescription form. After validation, the wheelchair will be fitted according to that. And after the wheelchair was fitted, there'll be a checkout. So see whether the seat width is correct or the seat depth is correct in order to make some further fine tuning. So in this webinar, we'll be looking at the forms and we'll be getting to know all the details on that. So now I would request Mr. Karthik to get on with the assessment.